So how do you come back home to yourself? Well, this is a technique that comes out of Advaita. It's called self-inquiry. The moment that you look for the ego, it vanishes. Anytime you search for yourself, you will see that you always end up back home itself. Because your ego is a phantom. It's a ghost. It's an illusion. That's why Western academia still hasn't found it. It doesn't exist. And every time you go and look for it, every time you search for it, you always end up in the same place of yourself. So this technique called self-inquiry or self-investigation is turning our attention back into ourself, away from the worldly objects, away from the ego, and turning our attention back into ourself and abiding in and as ourself relentlessly. And the more that we tend to ourself, the more we experience its beautiful qualities permanently. As Western mindsets, as an ego, we have this thing called consciousness back here. We ignore it all day long. And our ego is out here. And the more you turn within and rest and abide in yourself, this beautiful being, this presence, comes to the forefront as the ego collapses. As ego collapses, because it doesn't exist to begin with, this presence of being comes to the forefront. This permanent way of being yourself. So the ultimate goal is to figure out, is to see what I'm pointing to is true. Don't take my word for it. The only proof, the only evidence is direct experience. The direct experience of yourself. Turning back within and resting in and as your being. That dissolves the ego. That dissolves separation. That creates total unity. Where you're not over there and I'm not over here. And when you're not over there and I'm not over here, that means you know yourself as others and others as yourself. And you lose the ability to hate and harm. Because you're only hating and harming yourself. You lose the ability to exploit or take because you're only taking from yourself. And that's why it's so important to learn how to come home to yourself. The more and more you know yourself directly as this presence of being, this presence of happiness rises to the front stage and it's permanently there, you unavoidably shine. You unavoidably and inadvertently shine. Because there's no ego left to veil you. So you beam. And this is the greatest gift that you can give the world and humanity, is yourself. And it takes no effort. It seems like it's going to take effort because you've built this ego up over decades. And the ego is saying to you, what this guy's saying is nuts. Are you sure? Are you sure you want to go down this road of non-duality? What would be left if I, the ego, were to disappear, what would remain? The same thing that's remaining right here. Reality is here and now. How would this work? How would I go to work? How would I make money? Who would do all of this if I'm not here, the ego would say. The same energy, the same being that's doing it right now. Yourself. The ego is a phantom. It doesn't do anything. A ghost can't do anything. So I encourage you to do everything you can to understand what's being said here tonight and to investigate into it, to see and experience directly what's being pointed to here. Because like what I said, it's unbelievable. It's unimaginable. It's unknowable. And yet, you are experiencing it as yourself at this very moment.